PJ,
What's up, Clint?
dude, I came prepared. I rearranged. I got my whole base. My mom's basement is now just how it was in 1992. So
It's very, very Wayne and Garth, man.
no, I made this on Canva. It looks real though. I'm just in this mode. PJ, I don't know why it is. I'm in 80s Kiss mode. That's probably because quarantine is coming for all of us over the 4th of July weekend, the post 4th of July weekend. Man, the excitement is through the roof. I'm going to be at the Franklin, Ohio show, but you guys are starting off there in Chesterfield, Michigan. Quarantine is on the. This is like your first shows in about a year, right? It was last year. Was it Creatures Fest? Was your last show?
Well, no, we played on the Jericho cruise
That's
in
right.
January, so that was our last show.
Well, it's on. People are excited. You guys, for this tour, how hard has it been to sort of like start creating a set list for this? Because in the past, you guys have done some makeup Kiss songs. You've got singles out. You've got Good Girl Gone Bad out. So
Yeah,
is the set list finalized? Are we ready to roll with this thing?
we are ready to go. We put a couple new songs in there we haven't done before. Just kind of rolling the dice on those, but yeah, and I think the anything that's like 70s Kiss will do. I think if it's on Alive 3.
That's
If
a
I'm,
oh,
I think,
that's
yeah. So
okay.
I think only if they're on Alive 3.
So Alive 3, this is I'm 40. Keep that in mind. Alive 3 is the first Kiss album I ever bought.
Alive 3 is really that's a
Because I
great
was
record though. Hey,
I was
that
like,
was
yeah, I'm like looking at the song. I'm like, man, like every song's on here. This like covers a lot, eras. I know the 70s. I know the 80s stuff. So like, this is perfect. It's got, the opening of Creatures of the Night. Still think they should have had the You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, Hottest Spin on the World Kiss.
yeah.
But that's another question for you though. Creatures of the Night. You guys ever delve into that? Because that's obviously a makeup Kiss album, but to me, I consider it kind of part of the Look It Up, Animalize era to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it walks the equator there, but it doesn't qualify though because technically, technically we do the Bruce Kulick era.
I love that. And I've seen Bruce, a couple New Year's ago. I went out to Vegas and saw, the Bruce Kulick, Zach Throne,
Oh yeah,
Todd Kearns, when they did
great
a
band.
great night of it. And actually, Eric Singer that night was like filling in for Brent Fitz. So it was insane.
Well, that's a hell of a fill-in.
So you guys, that's kind of the only other, group of musicians that does this
Yeah,
era of Kiss. And it's my favorite by a million. And so it's like right in my wheelhouse and I can't wait.
that's great. Well, you are definitely in a subculture of guys like um, and there's a lot of them as we found out when we put this band together. It was, um, we didn't really put a band together as much as we did a couple songs, and then everybody reacted to it and kind of came out of the woodworks going, "I love '80s Kiss. I love '80s Kiss. I love '80s Kiss." It was like, and it was around the same time I think Bruce had started doing his thing too, or maybe he had done it on a Kiss cruise. But it really shed some light onto the '80s Kiss and Bruce's era in particular. And yeah, they just came out of the woodwork. Like it was like kind of like okay to say that you liked '80s Kiss. And we had Bruce come and do Heart of Chrome with us, and he's played with us at what was it, Creatures Fest? I think he played with
Yeah, I
us.
think he did.
Yeah, and it's all a big celebration of that era. So yeah, you're not alone. You're in good
Well,
company.
do you consider Animalize part of the Bruce Kulick era? He did play on the album. Obviously, Mark St. John played on most of it.
Yes, I kind of do.
What was your thoughts like whenever you probably saw like again, I was like kind of too young, but I think I might have rented the VHS later of the Animalize live that was on MTV. That
Uh,
was I think that was from Cobo Hall. Like I remember the first time I saw that, like I was blown away at the tempo, the way they played those old songs. Like it blew my mind. And I love that era because I remember looking at the back of the tape and it said there's a song on there called Burn Bitch Burn. I was like, what is this? Like the evil Kiss? I love this.
Right, right. Yeah, well, I mean, same, and we kind of quarantine as a band. We always watch it. If we're down at Chris's house, we'll go into his movie theater and light it up. And yeah, the tempos are absolutely next level. It was a concerted effort on their part. Obviously they wanted to keep everything high energy, and you could tell. I mean, their stage show, they're just Gene's kicking and Paul's flipping and kicking and jumping. I mean, they're all over the place, and that was the time though. It was high energy. It had to be balls to the wall. I mean, everything was double time. A little over the top for me, but I like it just because it's so high energy. It's a ball of fire, and it was definitely a stamp in time for sure.
Well, and it's also, and all to me, it shows that Kiss were really ringleaders of that era, and no one really gives them credit for that. You think about them taking the makeup off in 1983. This is before Rats Out of the Cellar comes out. This is before Bon Jovi's first album comes out. They really, and you joined Trixter in the late 80s. So like, from your perspective as a musician of that era, do you consider Kiss like ringleaders of sort of that movement? Or is it just like most people say, it's Van Halen, Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, that kind of.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a good question actually, because I really don't consider them.
Mm.
It's funny because really thinking about it, they did come out, well, didn't come out, but I mean, they
Reinvented themselves.
reinvented themselves around that time. So yeah, I mean, they kind of got on board, I think, at the time where something was happening, and they've always tried to keep their finger on the pulse. And I think the fact that they were going to take their makeup off, they're like, all right, well, which way are we going with this? And they kind of caught on right at the right time. And but yeah, no, I never really considered them part of that movement, that Bon Jovi and Rat kind of movement. They
But they
kind
have
of
the
were,
Desmond Child influence. They
yeah,
did
they
have the
were,
Desmond Child.
but it was always Kiss to me. They were
Yeah.
always kind of in a league of their own. So I never considered it part of that.
Alice Cooper kind of too, in 86, the Nightmare Returns and all that. And it was very
Yeah.
leaned into the 80s metal at the time. But it's,
Mhm.
like you said, it's Alice Cooper, the guy that did Schools Out and Pretty's for You. And so, let's talk about the single, Good Girl Gone Bad. You guys always just seem to, you find this great niche with these singles. And Good Girl Gone Bad is like one of the few times that Gene kind of gets to shine in that era. And so kind of what went behind picking that as a single for you guys, and just kind of talk about the song and why you picked it.
Well, it was, yeah, we have this kind of model where it goes like a Paul song, a Gene song, a Paul Jones, and we always alternate. Um, and I know Good Girl Gone Bad was always a song I wanted to do. So I had that in my back pocket since we did, I think, Heart of Chrome. And we were kicking around the next songs, it was always on my list. So after we did, God, what did we do before Good Girl Gone Bad? Was it
Silver Spoon? Was
Silver
it?
Spoon? Yeah.
Yeah.
um, I kind of, in our group chat, I was like, I got the songs. My number's called this time. And so, yeah, I kind of suggested that one. And I just thought it would be great, especially after we had done the songs that we'd done so far, with No, 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 Love's a Deadly Weapon, the most obscure, erratic Kiss songs, that you could possibly drum up. And then we kind of started bridging the gap with Heart of Chrome and Silver Spoon. We're like, all right, now let's give them something a little more kind of say digestible, and a really less celebrated Kiss song, because that song is just great. Great vocal by Gene, great groove, great vibe overall, and often overlooked. So, and that's what we kind of want to do. We want to bring the songs that go, oh shit, Good Girl Gone Bad is a great song. And it wound up at number 11 on the secondary rock chart.
That is what's amazing. And I love that about music today. You can say what you want. The fact that can happen, that you guys can start playing 80s Kiss music in 2020 during, quarantine, as we say, and then leads to this and leads to these shows. And I want to talk about because I've listened to kind of both the Kiss version and now the quarantine version back to back, and like the guitar work, that little like that little riff at the beginning that sort of like bridges, you know, and that is so, it's like one of my favorite moments of any Kiss song. And just talk about this band and the players you have, because I mean, I think that, you know, people don't really realize, I mean, you got like Joe McGinnis, tremendous. And
Mhm.
then what is it Charlie Para,
Charlie.
the other guitarist, like tremendous. Like what, I mean, these guys like world-class musicians you guys have.
Oh, no question about it. And I mean, talk about the the guy for the job. I mean, Joe, who was and this whole thing came about because of Joe and Kent. They were. I don't know if you know the backstory of how quarantine got started, but during quarantine, excuse me, Joe and Kent were gonna do No 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 and just kind of put it on their YouTube, and they had Kent had filmed himself playing the intro, and he sent it to Jericho, and he goes, "Name that song." And Jericho's just like, "No, no, no. What are you guys doing?" He's like, "Ah, we're just gonna do this, throw it up on YouTube like everyone else." He goes, "You need a singer?" And they're like, "Sure. And while you're at it, we need a bass player too." He's like, "I got the guy." So he called me. And then, but getting back to Joe, I mean, Bruce Kulick is Joe's guy. So,
Oh,
like, we got him. Even Bruce will tell you, Bruce is blown away by, how well Joe gets the stuff. And yeah, they've become friends, which is great, amazing for Joe. And, it's just a really cool, it's one of the silver linings of the whole 2020 disaster, that this band came out. So many friends. I mean, Kiss brought so many people together during quarantine. I mean, I had my 80s Kiss tribute, and then I was also doing my 70s Kiss tribute with Joe McGinnis, Charlie Benante, and John Five. I did a couple songs of
that's
70s
right.
Kiss stuff with that. So I mean, Kiss, the Kiss fans just united over that, and so many good things came out of it. And we, like I said, we had Bruce come and do Heart of Chrome with us, and it's just been so cool. I mean, this band just, and we're all such good friends now. Charlie's in Peru, but we have our brother in Peru, and it's he comes over to the States to do these shows because he's so into it. And yeah, when you talk about a world class musician in himself. I mean, he's got like a zillion YouTube subscribers and stuff, and it's like but we're all in it. And Kent plays stadiums with Luke Bryan. I mean, we're all just like, all right, we'll drop all that, and we're gonna go and play some Kiss songs, 80s Kiss songs.
Well, and I was shocked because like I'm gonna do the VIP meet and greet at the July 6th show. And I'm like, oh wait, I need to go get a ticket. And it was not easy to get a ticket for that show, PJ. Like I had to like do some back channeling. Like they had their general admission sold out there at JD Legends. You can get like some individual go there. It's not completely sold. You can get a couple individual like table
Yeah.
tickets right now. But
Wow.
this is unbelievable that these shows, I assume the other two are this way as well, are people that the appetite is there for this. And
It is, man,
it's
and
unbelievable.
it is. I mean, we considering this is so we did 3 shows last year: JD Legends, Pittsburgh Jurgles, what we're doing again, and we did Columbus, Ohio, King of Clubs, and we were like, man, we don't, I don't know what we were thinking, but at the end of the day, this is just a couple of guys playing some Kiss covers. Are people going to come out and see this? It's 80s Kiss, no less. I mean, like, we had no idea because we didn't do public shows. We did Creatures Fest. That's an easy audience. We were playing to a Kiss crowd. We couldn't go wrong. And we did Chris's cruise, and we played at his birthday party at his house a couple times. Like, we weren't doing hard ticket shows where, hey, come on out to this club and see this band. We had no idea what to expect. And we had a couple of great shows last year, and it was refreshing to see that people actually, and they had so much fun. I mean, we did it for us because we wanted to do it and just have fun, and it really translated. The crowd ate it up and just had a blast, and they saw that we were having fun because we were there all just celebrating. It wasn't there was it was no pressure. It was just all about celebrating Kiss, and primarily 80s Kiss, although we do some of the 70s songs to give you some of the hits. But it is all about a good time, just like the spirit of Kiss.
Well, there's something deeper here, I think, because what you're describing and keeping the spirit of these songs alive, and to know that your Fozzy bandmate Rich Ward, his band Guardians of the Jukebox, are freaking phenomenal, and it's very seriously taken. They play in front of huge crowds too. I mean, the future of this music is kind of lies within bands like this, like the
Yeah.
70s Kiss band. Because when I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, it's like you go see a Kiss cover band here. They try to get the costuming right. You hear the songs, you know the songs. You got someone that tries to sound like Gene. But there's something about like world-class musicians coming together to celebrate this music that takes it to a new level. And that being the future, Kiss is retired. They're not going to do a tour where they play songs from Animalize or Hot in the Shade. That's
Right.
not going to happen. So there's almost like this is sort of the future of keeping these songs alive. And Rich Ward kind of, embodies that too with his band Guardians of the Jukebox.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and for us, it's like, Kiss wasn't celebrating this era of Kiss
Right.
before they retired. So
Yeah.
the market was wide open for us, even while they still had wheels on it. But yeah, man, I don't know if it's a sign of the times that we need to go back to when, as I always say, the clothes smiled and the music smiled, and just revisit that and bring that into light a little bit more. And there's a resurgence of 80s sounding music now. I mean, bands like The Midnight, and if you look them up, I mean, there's just a lot of reminiscent 80s stuff coming out, packaged a little bit differently. Um, so, it's kind of history repeating itself. It's all a cycle. It just comes back repackaged, rebranded.
And it says a lot about Kiss because like there's not people that are going to go out and do the grunge era Warrant, cover
Correct.
band.
Yeah.
Okay. So like this, there's something about that. And it says so much about the music. And I think that it says a lot about the era, all of it. And you're totally spot on. And again, this band is just electric. I can't wait. I'm telling you, like I'm just like, I'm throwing away whatever I'm doing. I've got like tons of stuff coming up. I'm going to Lake Tahoe for this American Century Golf event. I've got SEC football media days. Was like in the middle of this. I'm like, I'm getting to that show in Franklin, Ohio. I'm doing it. I've got to do it. Oh, you'll recognize me. I'll be wearing this shirt. It's my Animalized shirt. I mean, that's
Is
pretty
that
badass.
is that
Can't beat that.
authentic?
No, it's definitely not.
All right.
Unfortunately, I'm just gonna say yes, it
No
is.
point. No points off. No points off.
No points off. So great stuff there. I got to, of course, bring up because you guys are doing several Trickster dates, of course, this summer as well. So trying to find time for everything is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Man, I know someone that saw you guys. Oh gosh, was it back in? Did you play in New York City in April or May, or out in New Jersey?
We played New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And like, just absolutely said it was the time of their life. Trickster out there. How's it been like going out as a three-piece with Steve singing? How have you enjoyed that?
It's been awesome because it just evolved. Like this last tour we did was electric. It was distortion and a little bit more fast paced show. We started doing the trio acoustic because I had been out all during, even before the lockdown, but been doing acoustic shows with Eric Martin from Mr. Big.
Yeah.
And we would do, Mr. Big songs, some of his solo stuff. I'd do some of my solo stuff, and I'd sing a couple Trickster songs. And we had a couple shows booked a few years ago, and Eric got sick, and the promoter had us opening for Warrant Firehouse. And I was like, all right, well, how about I just fly Steve out and we'll just play Trickster songs? And guy turns out he was a huge Trickster fan, so he loved the idea. So literally in 2 days' notice, flew Steve out, and we had never done that before, and we hadn't played those songs in a couple of years, but we had a blast, and we just kind of said, all right, you sing this, y'all sing that, you sing that, and we just no rehearsal, just kind of threw it together. And we just started booking more shows. We had so much fun. The crowd loved it. And for the last couple of years, that's what we've been doing. And then it wasn't until we put this tour together in the spring that we're like, you know what? We got Pretty Boy Floyd, Enough's Enough, and Band Aid coming out. They're going to be all guns a-blazing. Let's step on the distortion pedal on this. And The acoustic show is pretty much the same thing, only a little bit cleaner sounding, but it's a little more storytelling and more interactive. Although this show is, we're engaging with the audience, we're telling bad jokes, we're telling stories, but it's a little bit more quick pitched, if you will. Just keep a little bit more momentum. So it's a little bit more of that kind of rock show theme as opposed to dinner and a show, if you will.
And you got some dates coming up in July after the quarantine dates, and then to Canada, I think this fall. So
Yeah,
gonna make a full run of it. That is awesome. And it's
keep 'em
funny
busy.
because yeah, we talked to a lot of bands. PJ, you mentioned that there's a lot of 80s kind of sounding bands, and there's some bands from Sweden. There's a band called Crazy Licks that I'm a huge fan of out of Sweden. And that singer Danny Rexon always says, like, yeah, of course, bands, and I mean they are, I would, if you don't know who they are, I would highly recommend checking out Crazy Licks, great band. And he said that, the real influences for us were like, yeah, of course we loved Europe, they're Swedish band. We loved Rat and Motley Crue, but like for us, really, like it was that late 80s. It was like Danger Danger and Trixter and Firehouse and those like later era bands that really influenced them the most. Does that surprise you kind of to hear to hear that?
Yeah, I mean, it's always like, oh wow, really cool. Yeah, it's not like we're Van Halen here going, yeah, we hear that all the time, So it's always encouraging to hear our peers out there that say, hey, we started out, you're one of our influences. To us, it's always amazing to hear. It never doesn't land with us because we're always so used to talking about our influences. So when we see a band out there like Crazy Licks, doing interviews mentioning us as an influence, it's like, wow, it's it gives you perspective, and it's always good to hear, man. It's a really cool thing to hear at this point in my career. So yeah, that's killer. I'm aware
Yeah,
of that.
and yeah, and it's deserved, and it's something that for me, like I said, I'm a younger fan. I kind of really remember buying music as a real young kid, but being so drawn to the melodies and the hooks of
Yeah,
that late 80s stuff. And Road of a Thousand Dreams to this day is in my top 10 songs of all time.
that's
That
all.
song just, it's like encapsulates everything that to me, like I was all about. Like I just wanted to, I knew I was kind of different. Like I didn't want a real job. And like that song just meant so much, songs like that that just take you and kind of show you anything's possible. Did you ever have a moment where you were like, I don't, I can't work in a plastics factory. I don't know what, but like I gotta do something else. Do you have a moment?
Um, as long as I can remember, it was always music for me.
Yeah.
There was no other seed planted, and luckily for me, it happened for me so young that I was in hook, line, and sinker for life, because I got in early, and I don't know if I manifested it early because I wanted it so bad. I was just, tunnel vision. Um, so there was never any other option or thought. I was never like, okay, well, I'm going to do music and on the side, I'm going to do, whatever. I was right out of high school into it, in high school into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. And like someone like that and yourself who's been around and done so much and a tremendous bass player in and of itself, like, and Chris Jericho as a singer, as someone that I look up to a lot because he certainly had the mentality that I did. He's been able to take it just a bit further, being like one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, one of the biggest podcasts going today in America, singer for Fozzy, singer for Kuarantine, best-selling
Author.
author, you know. So Chris is someone like that. It's almost like Chris manifested, hey, I like wrestling, I like 80s metal, and like, so I'm just I'll just do that. That's
Yeah.
incredible, really.
And not just do it big. I
Yes.
mean, no one else from a lockdown that put these little split screen videos together, had songs on the charts and whatnot. Go big or go home with him, everything, no matter what he does.
What's it like just being around him? Like, is he someone that you kind of immediately gelled with and are like, okay, this guy is like, he's like me. We get it because I hear from a lot of artists. The older you get, the more important it is to be in bands with people that you like, that you get along with, that you can travel with. Was that kind of how it went
Yeah,
with Chris?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing that, we bonded over, well, Chris, ironically, is a big Trickster fan. And when I met him, God, it was probably 15 years ago. So we had just done, Steve and I had just done Eddie Trunk's radio show in New York City. And he's like, we're all going back to New Jersey because that's where we lived. We were in the city doing the show, but he's like, hey, I'm going to dinner with Jericho now. He just wrestled in Jersey, and he wants you guys to come. He wants to meet you guys. He's a huge fan.
Wow.
Here is his favorite record, and we're like, all right, cool. So we went down and we had dinner with him, and immediately I was blown away by his knowledge of music. Because I wasn't into wrestling, so I didn't really know. I'd heard his name, but I wasn't following wrestling at that time, and I didn't really know Fozzy's music at all. But I was blown away by his knowledge of music and sitting there with Eddie, and Eddie wasn't talking, Chris was. And when they would talk, I mean, talk about having facts and stats and all that stuff and knowledge of our second record. We immediately bonded just over, and I was like, wow, this guy's real deal passionate about music first and foremost. And that's how we connected, and we've been friends ever since that. And so the whole Fozzy quarantine thing came together in 2020, but we've been friends for about 15 years, so to speak.
Yeah, Chris is someone that I look at as just like that guy. He just encapsulates everything that I love when he does like his classic album battles. And I think he needs to do one, a Kiss one, like Asylum versus Animalize, or Hot in the Shade versus uh,
I'm sure
Smashes.
I'm sure he's done it. I know we did all the members of Quarantine, we did Crazy Nights versus Revenge, but I don't know about any of the earlier record
That
class.
I remember the Crazy Nights Revenge one. That's right. You guys were all on that. And that
Yeah.
was a tough one for me because of the easy answer should probably be Revenge because it's just amazing and like real heavy.
I know there's a lot of emotional attachment to, Crazy Nights, especially for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. Oh my goodness. Like Reason to Live. Are you kidding me?
Hmm.
Which by the way, not that you would take any advice from me, not that you would need to, but they, on the quarantine on Instagram kind of asked, what songs do you want to hear on this tour? I'll tell you one that could be a single. Maybe you're busting it out live, maybe not. No promises. But You Make Me Rock Hard popped up a bunch from Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. Just
Really? Did it
saying.
really?
Yes.
I didn't see that. I didn't see the results, I should say.
That was my answer. I don't know. Maybe it was just me.
All
But
right.
I saw it pop up a bunch. So, it's out there. And
Just
Desmond Child
it's
he's been
just
on this
crazy
show.
enough to work.
Desmond Child's been on this show and talked about that song. And I'm like, I love it. I think it's great. The double entendre is hilarious. I don't care. I'm
Right.
all
Of
about it.
course.
I'm all about Paul Stanley in that era. That is like Paul came into his own.
Yeah.
Paul was a John Bon Jovi. He was the Stephen
Totally.
Pearcy. It was
Totally.
a natural fit, right?
And you know what? We a couple years ago, maybe it was like 2 or 3 years ago, went back and watched Exposed, and I was like,
Yes.
God damn, he was such a funny, lighthearted, just awesome, funny guy. It's just so cool to see that again.
Yeah, Exposed was awesome. That was like Asylum era, and they were doing all the shots with girls in the bed. Like that blew me away. I
Yep.
love that.
All the skits and
Um,
everything. I mean, it's just priceless. One of the best.
um, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up some Fozzy here because
Sure.
25th anniversary tour coming up here this fall. That's going to be huge. You guys are only touring in America this year. New singles, Army of One, awesome song. I actually had Orange Cassidy. This was at the Super Bowl on Radio Row. We interviewed Orange Cassidy, and he called us out and said, "You couldn't name 5 Fozzy songs." And that was, for someone like Orange, who's a big time wrestler, that didn't go well for him. I got one over on him on that one. So big tour. And doesn't include, are you guys doing the All Out in England again? That'll be a side deal, but
No, we're playing the night before though. We're playing in Kentish Town in London, the O2
that's
Forum.
right.
Yeah.
because that visual last year of you guys playing with Chris singing his way to the ring is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in
Yeah,
my
I
life.
mean, look, I would love to be playing Wembley Stadium every year, and of course, I would love to have done it this year. But all honesty, I'm still riding that performance, that 2 minutes in heaven. I mean, it's taken me well past All Out this year, so I don't even know. It was so epic and so massive. I don't even think we could top it this year, even if we did play it.
Well, it's exciting. I mean, the Fozzy brand continues to grow, and to think that like I bought that first Fozzy album just because I loved Chris and I love 80s metal. They're doing Scorpion songs, they're doing Wasp,
Yeah,
Love Gun and stuff. And I'm like, well, this is great. To think that the band is now where you guys have, Judas being one of, I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of like a bigger, more impactful hard rock hit over the last decade than Judas. Can you name
yeah.
one? I
I mean, it's tough, but you know what? You're right. It's one of those kind of silent, massive songs. Although it's a gold record, it's still one of those songs that you know more people know it than they know. You know.
Do you get as Judas kind of become Fozzy's play Freebird? Like that's kind of what I mean, Judas is that
Yeah,
big.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's definitely it's the one for sure.
But Army of One's tremendous. I mean, you got the direction is great. And I love the vocals on that. I think Chris just always kind of reinvents his vocal style, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. And the song's great. And so is that kind of, the direction that Fozzy music will kind of take on in the next
I
year?
just, you know what? Not necessarily. No, I just think that man, Boombox has so many amazing songs on it, and the way the record industry is modeled these days is just tragic. Because the
Mm,
band does an entire record, and you hear 4 or 5 songs, then the record comes out, and then it's goodbye. So what happens to the rest of the record? Why even do it? Um, well, what happened was Britt Baker went on her social media and just decided to go, you know what song is awesome? Listen to this. And she started playing it and just really talking up the song. And it got the wheels spinning and it really started bubbling and circulating. And so the powers that be were like, you know what? We know Boombox came out and did a pretty much a cycle already, but that song is on Boombox and it was never released. Who's to say there are no rules anymore? Who's to
right.
say you can't go back and release a song from a record? We don't have a new record out right now, although we've released a new song in Spotlight, but that doesn't mean you can't go back and pull from because look, again, we live in a single era. So some people never even heard Army of One, and that's criminal. It's tragic, and it's a great song, and um, so it's picking up steam. I mean, it's literally as we speak, climbing the charts. It's like go
Yeah,
figure.
that's a good point. It's almost like stuff comes too fast, and there is almost this inherent pressure for to get it, move on to the next. And it
Right.
is hard for me. And like I, get sent albums and things all the time. And I remember Jesse James Dupree from Jackal was on this show and he said, well, when's the last time you just like listened to a full album front to back? And I didn't have an
Yeah.
answer. And I'm like, well, and I'm supposed to be knowledgeable on these. And I listen to every song I can. And I try to, but it's still like, it's different.
I mean, unfortunately, it's the world we live in. But from the artist standpoint, um, you know, we make records to create that experience. Put the record on. In our heads, we're still thinking, "Oh, well, they're going to put the record on and love this," and that's those people are in the minority. We get
Mm,
it. Um, at least people in our age group. But
right.
it, like I said, to prove that point, that's why we can go back and pluck that song out and go, you know what? Boom! Now that's a single because why not? The majority of people never even heard it because we released a couple singles and then the label decides the record's over. It's like, well, I don't think so.
I think it's tremendous. I'm really glad that you're a part of Fozzy. I caught the tour last year with Ugly Kid Joe here in KC. What a blast. That was a
That's
great
great.
pairing. Ugly Kid Joe, so much fun. And Fozzy, that's a given. That was awesome. And so
It was. It was
it
a
was
fun
really cool.
tour. It was a fun tour. Those guys are awesome, and that band is just great. And it, I got a couple of head scratches when I told people we were going out with Ugly Kid Joe, but seeing it, everyone was like, "That was unbelievable. That was great. Two bands just having fun.
I
Perfect."
loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get out to one of these dates here this fall. I'm always out and about. As you know, I
Yeah,
just find
man.
my way around. This is On the Road to Rock. We're on the road. We're gonna make it happen.
That's
And
it.
PJ, I gotta mention, one more time before we let you go. It is Quarantine's run coming up here this 4th of July, post 4th of July weekend, I should say.
Mhm.
Here Friday in Chesterfield, Michigan, Saturday the 6th, Franklin, Ohio, and then Warrendale, Pennsylvania on the 7th. You can still get a meet and greet package. That is the best value I've ever seen for what you get. I mean, what can fans expect when they buy one of these packages? I mean, obviously you're getting to meet the band. I think you guys do kind of a private little performance.
Yeah,
It's a pretty
it's
awesome deal.
basically, it's kind of like we modeled it after, what we do with Fozzy's kind of
Sure.
come in, sound check, we play a couple songs for you, and then, sign some stuff, take some pictures, do the thing, spend some time with it, basically. Just give you that, if those people can, you know, get there early and want to come hang out, it's just, it kind of just adds a new dimension to the experience.
Well, I'll be there on the 5th. So just go ahead and get You Make Me Rock Hard ready. Just learn the tablature just in
I'm gonna go
case.
check the stats on that one.
PJ, it's been such a pleasure, man. I can't put over enough what you guys are doing and what you're doing, and just I'm really disappointed because I had a Trixter show lined up. It got canceled. The Louisville Arena Rock 80s festival got canceled in Louisville. I had my Trixter date ready to roll, and that one's off the books now. So
So we're trying to replace it with something.
we'll,
So
we'll get well, yeah, we'll make it happen. So PJ, thank you so much. We'll see you in a couple days, and best of luck out there. It's going to be a busy summer. Have a great rest of your summer, and I'll see you on Saturday.
all right, Clint, see you, buddy.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
Bye bye.